All right, welcome traders. It is Thursday, February 22, 2024. Welcome to our daily recap and trade update in the portfolio. Overall, pretty good day today. Markets just rocketing higher on the NVIDIA news. So one stock going to crank the markets higher. Not only did NVIDIA run, 16% higher today, 110 points on NVIDIA, but you had Apple up a little over 1%, Microsoft up over 2%. Amazon up almost 4%, Meta up almost 4%, Google up 1%, and even Tesla was up 1%. So a huge update today in the market, all on one stock. And apparently with one stock, the entire market decides it's good to go. But guess what? We don't care. Posted in last night's video, don't really care what NVIDIA does. It went up today. Almost every account we have went up. If it had gone down the same amount, we would have been up even more in most of our accounts today. So that's the beautiful thing about our trading, and the beautiful thing about being delta neutral is don't really matter which direction we go, as long as we go slow. And even a 100-point move is a 2% move, not a gigantic move up, but what goes up must come down at least a little bit at some point. So let's take a look at the markets. Let's see where things are, and we'll make some plans for tomorrow in trading. So here's the market. So you can see that the SPX was up 105 points today, 2.11% here on SPY, breaking out of this previous high area and a little bit of an ascending wedge. We'll move this up. It's not exactly perfect, but we're pretty doggone close to another new all-time high today. But interesting to see is that we had this PSAR bearish signal and we reversed today. And this means we got to drop pretty decently now to reverse negative. You had MACD that's been downtrending, curved up today. Same thing with RSI, same thing with the squeeze. So the daily just continues to march higher, steps higher, higher highs, higher low, higher high, higher low type of thing here. And if we look at the weekly chart, this thing just continues to march higher, and it's getting incredibly overbought. So on the weekly chart, you're now at a 78 out of almost a maximum 80 here. Very overbought on the weekly. We're not there yet, but we could get there in a day or so. So another day or two, and we'll be overbought on SPY. So will we end the week being overbought on both? We'll see. Markets are giving back a little bit in the after hours, but overall, pretty solid update today. I mean, look at this. This thing is just, this is not a 45-degree angle. 45 degrees would be somewhere over here. This is closer to like a 60-degree angle higher. That's just unsustainable. If something's going to go up that high, it's going to retrace a decent amount. Even if you only get a small retracement, to 480 here, 4,800, maybe 4,600, if we convert, half of this or 50% of this back to this support level here, we'll see what happens. But right now, markets are on fire and people are just piling in with no regard for their safety. Taking a look at the stocks above their 50-day moving average, this thing has been just steadily declining, making a little bit of a reverse the last couple of days. So we'll keep an eye on this. This is a bullish sign. We start heading back up here. For now, we're nicely bullish until we get back up to about the 90 mark, and then it'll become bearish and overbought. We normally, if we come down, we'll continue. If we bounce, we'll see. If we did get a small bounce, we could just tip over like we had back in here, here where we've come down. Then we, bounced higher, and then that's when the bigger sell-off happened. So we'll keep on watching. If we look at the put call ratio, it's easiest to see when we're on the full chart here. So let's take a quick look at the put call ratio with the 10-day moving average. As this thing moves lower, the market's going to move higher. And overall, we've just been in a decent downtrend overall. So as we're downtrending here, the market is, for the most part, uptrending most of that time. So when we get to this bought range, we start to flip over and calls start to outnumber puts, then we start to watch things go. But right now, put call ratio as it's falling, meaning more calls than puts. This thing continues to fall. If we get below the 0.7 here, which we're getting doggone close to, I think that's going to become at some point a bearish reversal possibility, but we're not there right now. If we take a look at the VIX, another big gap down there. So you had a big gap up and gap down. Essentially, nothing has happened in the VIX in 4 days, exactly where we were on Monday and Tuesday, or Friday and Monday of this week. With momentum just doing nothing. I don't really worry about momentum too much of the VIX, but certainly heading lower. All right, look at the US dollar. Here we broke the downtrend, or the uptrend yesterday. And even though we hung in there today, for the most part, we were down quite a bit earlier, rebounded, but we have now triggered a bearish PSAR signal. So bearish signal on the dollar, which could become bullish. Now we have been trending down. MACD, RSI, squeeze momentum's all heading down, but the weekly has been heading higher till now. So you get the weekly going up, the daily now rolling over here. I think that sets up really well for just sideways movement in the dollar. And then if we take a look at the 10-year Treasury, pretty much unchanged on the session. Bonds really don't care what's going on here. Moving up on the weekly, though. All right, so let's jump into our futures, and we're going to stick to our core four right now. Monstrous up day today on ES. So everything has been heading down for a couple days, and then boom, huge reversal. Started yesterday as we bounced off to 21, got the follow through today, triggered a bullish PSAR reversal today. So bullish trend on the daily. If we're looking at the weekly, I still think we're starting to run out of steam. Big day today kind of disputes that a little bit, and a good up week with most of that coming in one day today. MACD is not getting stronger. RSI is getting overbought here, and squeeze is just long in the tooth. I think we're just getting long. It's kind of like a freight train. This freight train's been running, and even if a few things start to slow it down, that train continues to go for a little while longer before it actually starts to go backwards. So you got to slow the train down before it can go backwards. I thought we were getting a little bit of that slowing here during the week. Change today. I still think we're overdone. All right, on CL here. So if we look at oil, we've been moving up on the weekly. Good uptrend on the weekly. We're still in this ascending triangle for the most part here. We can draw it 8 million different ways. But still, this is tightening up on the bottom in an uptrend, and you're at resistance, which it hit today, pulled back, but still a good overall day for oil, allowing us to get out of one of our biggest oil winning trades ever today. So fantastic oil winning trade. If we break above this 79 level here, I think we could really run into the low 80s. So I think that's what we got to look at right now. Oil looking pretty doggone good, in my opinion. We're going to keep putting trades on. We just put a strangle on 3 days ago, and we still have a couple 112 trades on, although we took some off today, which is going to which freed up a bunch of buying power for us to put on another trade. But I like oil. We'll keep 112ing oil. If we're looking at gold, it's just moving sideways, sitting right there. Perfect strangling opportunity. The weekly is falling down. Now we have our first red squeeze dot here. So if you count the white, 2 days. So 2 weeks of squeezing as things are starting to bend in here, getting tighter and tighter, even on the ATR bands. Slight uptrend on the RSI and the MACD, but really squeeze slightly down, but squeezing. Still, we're still in a tight squeeze. Gold's just perfect in here. We did trigger a bullish PSAR signal today, so maybe we can get something going, but the weekly's still down. This thing, I think, it just sets itself up to just more perfect strangles. which we did that a couple days ago as well. That strangle from 3 days ago is now up 24% in 3 days. So great call on that one. All right, if we take a look at bonds, let's zoom in here, even on the weekly. Definite downtrend happening on the weekly. MACD, RSI, squeeze momentum, all falling. Bonds are selling off a bit. If we go to the daily here, we can look at a little bit of the micro view. MACD is not selling off hard, and RSI is just kind of hanging in there, which it's not hitting new lows despite the market hitting new lows on bonds. And the squeeze fired back here. And so we definitely had the downtrend going, but I really like it here. I think we want to watch this 50% fib or even the 618 fib down here. We are getting long bonds in the form of 112s and again strangles, because I still think we move sideways here. We have a strangle on now. This is day 2 of a strangle. We're up 7% in 2 days. We're up 45% in another one. We're up 5% in another strangle. We've got some naked puts on here, which are doing just fine for 2 days. So we're bullish on bonds. Taking a look at copper, this thing continues to march higher. Been pointing this out, that this momentum on the weekly starting to move higher, getting its moving averages starting to move. And then the daily, we pointed out yesterday that today we would probably see the stacking begin. MACD, RSI, squeeze, all heading higher. Here from a momentum standpoint, you got the 9 above the 21, which today broke the 50, which we said would happen yesterday, and that's above the 21. So all of your moving averages are stacked. Bullish PSAR. So we could be heading up here maybe to test not only this top resistance, but I think we're going to test the 4 level and maybe this 3 ATR band. We might get as high as this other 3 ATR band before we need to pay attention. So I like copper and where we are. Now we do have a strangle in here. It's pretty much flat. And then we're sitting on the remains of a put debit spread. But I think the next trade now is, I think you really have to consider if we get any kind of a down day tomorrow on copper, a 112, I think would set up really, really nicely here. We're starting to get away from the 21, so nothing for strangles for now. We just let theta do its work. And then the NASDAQ today, man, Dow was up 500 points, but NASDAQ was up 525 points, up 3%. NQ is up 2.7%. Now it is off of its highs of the session. So in the after hours trading, at least on the futures, we've started to come back down just a fraction. I mean, nothing major. You can see, just like SPY, we stopped the downtrend in a squeeze, moving higher. Let's move in on the weekly here, and weekly is looking pretty solid to the upside here. So we're moving higher along this trend line. Let's make sure that trend line is right, well set up. Look below, but then bouncing off the 21 yesterday, and then today we touched it again, and then off to the races we go. We are close to triggering a bullish PSAR, but we're not there yet. We have to get above today's highs and the previous highs. So we have to set a new all-time high in the NASDAQ to trigger a bullish PSAR signal on the daily. On the weekly, we almost triggered the low, triggered a bearish PSAR signal. So we were just inches away from that thing happening. So nice mixed chart. I think we can still go higher, obviously, and the ATRs are heading higher. They're widening. I think you can see some definite more upside coming. However, I thought it was a good opportunity to get some trades on. So we actually opened up some trades in NQ today. And then looking at the Russell, it did nothing. Everything was in the big magnificent 7 stocks, and nobody cared about the Russell today. It was up fractionally, it was up 0.5% at best. Good strangle opportunity in Russell. I don't think I'm long anything here, but good strangle opportunity on this pullback for this week overall. All right, And then, as you would expect, with the dollar slightly weak, you're getting some decent bounces on the Aussie dollar on Forex. So this is looking interesting. I think this sets itself up really nicely for a strangle. I think strangling or a 112 in 6A. And if we look at 6E, which is the euro, we broke the downtrend, bullish PSAR, MACD, RSI squeeze, all pointing higher in a squeeze. Great strangle opportunity, I think, here as well. So I think you can definitely strangle a couple things. There's a lot of trade opportunities, in my opinion, in these. One thing I'm not strangling is I'm not strangling this thing, right? I mean, when you've got a 60-degree uptrend, yeah, I'm not getting in front of that with a strangle. Now, I did sell some naked calls against some of my 112 trades. That's where the pressure from today came in. So we would have had a better day. You can see here on ES, I was down. And the reason I was down was you've got two hedges here. Okay, so these two hedges accounted for some of the loss on the day. But you can see really it was these naked calls down here that don't cost anything. I think it was a good opportunity when I put these on. We still have plenty of room, 400 more points to the upside. So if you think we can go up 400 more points before we get those things called away, now we might get stopped out before that. But right now we have a 7% upside. I'm not, we went up 2% today. So can we get there in 3 days? We sure can. If volatility stays low, which it is, but I like the naked calls here. I think it gives us an income opportunity. They were just up yesterday, and now they're down today. If we get any kind of a pullback here tomorrow, maybe this move was overdone. We have backed off of the highs that we sent intraday. We'll see what the momentum does for the markets tomorrow. But overall, great day here, and we managed to take off the naked puts of this oil 112 trade. You'll see that in the account when we jump into that. Still pretty good diversification. We did add a big ES tranche of long-term 112 yesterday, so that put our capital up to 81,000 there. We added a little more NASDAQ today, so that moved our capital up there. But we're still pretty well diversified. And then bonds is sitting in second place at $60,000 worth of capital. And then right behind that, you've got oil, you've got gold, and you've got Treasury ETF, short-term Treasury ETF as the next biggest ones after that. So I like where we are. It would have been a great day if it wasn't for the naked calls that we had added to some 112s, but I'm okay with those for now. If they don't work out, they don't work out. But for now, I think we're fine. We'll leave that alone. And let's just jump into the account itself. So let's get out of Discord and let's get into the account itself. We ended the day back down to negative 44 delta. So I like it. We are as flat a delta as you can get. There's not too much closer to zero than you can get than 44 points on a $432,000 account. So very delta neutral. We go up, we go down. We don't really care which direction the market goes. We're not overly leveraged one direction or another. Theta is at 1208, so 0.28, almost 0.3%. Not too bad from a theta standpoint. I like where we are on theta. We could use some more, but I think when buying, if we pull back, which may never happen again in our lifetime, or maybe it'll happen tomorrow. When we start to pull back, we should get a bump of theta. We should start to see volatility picking up. And then from a net lick perspective, we dropped a couple $100 today, mainly because of those naked calls that we sold against our 112s. I actually considered selling some more today, but I held off for now. I put the NASDAQ trade on today. All right, BP usage 265. When you factor bill out of it, we're only sitting at 51%. So we are right at our 50% level. And then fantastic day today. One of the biggest days, certainly the biggest day of the month. And if we go back, $4,900. Okay, for this year, this is our largest trading day of the year from realized gains. All right, so we closed another 4,900. We are now at almost $14,000 in realized gains for the month. We are over 3%, which is our goal. And if we look down here, you can see that we are now $1,500 ahead of goal for the month, and it is the 22nd. Now, we could certainly take some losses. We could also add more winners to this. I'm most likely going to be taking off some other trades and booking some winners in here. If the market keeps going up, we're going to be taking more naked puts off of our long-term 112s. I've got one at 92%. I'm debating on taking that off. If we have another update tomorrow, maybe we'll take that off just a fraction early than our 95%. And that'll give us probably some more negative delta, but it's going to free up buying power to put on some new trades. And I really want to take advantage of this move up and overbought scenario. Now we can stay overbought for quite some time. If we go back, trying to look to see, we have not been this overbought in a long, long, long time. This is the most overbought ES has been dating back quite a couple years. Let's see if we can pull up a trade here, and let's just look at ES. It doesn't matter which one we look at. So if we look at SPY, all right, at ES here, you can see that this level here, sitting today with a RSI of 78, we don't have that same reading going back to 2021 or any of that. So in this 2021 run that we had, Great Bull run of 2021, we never have been this overextended on the weekly chart. So I'm a little cautious here that this is the most overextended that we are on the weekly chart. So that's giving me some pause and a little bit of concern over the market, not a concern on my portfolio. Now, if we look at the NASDAQ, it has previously reached some ridiculous highs around 83, and back here around 80. So 83 was reached back last June. We're not there, but we are overbought on the weekly on the NASDAQ as well. So it's not as high as it was, okay, but it's pretty doggone close here. And I also use, in fact, let's move this to 75 and 25. Right. So we're not as overbought as we were last June and July on this move, but we are pretty doggone close. But today's high, which was not a brand new high exactly, and yesterday's high is coming on lower RSI. So again, just little things like that. Last week and this week is not setting new highs on RSI. So a little bit of a divergence there. We'll see what happens on the weekly. But either way, I like where we're positioned for these trades. So we've got opportunities of things to trade here. I think you just have to be patient, let this market ride itself out here. If we break above and set a new high tomorrow, I think this is a pretty good over exuberance type of move. We can stay overbought longer than people can stay solvent. However, we will stay solvent and we will manage our trades according to plan because that's what we do. So we want to make sure that we're managing our trades. And just to show you what I was looking at before here on the chart is when it comes to the NASDAQ, we were overbought back here in June and July, a lot higher degree than we were here, but we are tipping over right now. Do we come back above it? Maybe. But if we look at ES, again, this is the highest overbought level that we have been that I can find in the last several years. So that's something to keep an eye on. I'm going to put the 50 line in here so we can keep an eye on things and see how we are relative to that. But overall, I think, the squeeze is long. MACD is not jumping through the roof on this move. It's very flat. I think these are all potential early warning signs. I'm not saying we're cratering. I just think a pullback and we're looking at the weekly here, you'd want to pull back somewhere to the 21-day moving average. I don't know about the 50, but maybe. But I think, you still are looking at a pullback to 4,800 or something still coming up. Now that's only 200 or 300 points from here, and we could move there in a heartbeat. So in 2 more days like this to the downside, we could be right back to those levels. We'll see what happens. But overall, I think we're positioned well. We added some new trades today. I love our setups. I think we want to get some oil trades on next. So I want to bump oil back up a bit. We've added some trades in bonds. We've added some trades in NASDAQ. So we're back to a little bit of a higher exposure on ES and NQ, but I think we want to take a look at oil as the next frontier. If this thing continues to pound higher on oil or breaks through here, I think oil could take off. So we're going to want to put on some trades. Potentially either 1-1-2 trades would make the most sense, but I think you could look at ratio spreads, which we've been very successful with as well. We could also look to do a potential covered strangle setup on this, the way we trade it. So hopefully that makes sense for you guys, and you got a lot out of today's session. There's a lot going on and a lot of things happening. That NVIDIA move yesterday pulled the whole market up. Does one stock have that power to do that? It's crazy, out of control to the upside. You're starting to get, in my opinion, a little over exuberant here. We are definitely in overbought territory. We're starting to see the technicals not jiving with the actual price target. That gives me a little bit of a pause. I'm not saying panic. I'm just saying be careful out there. I hope you found some value to this. Hit the like button. I'd really appreciate it. So please hit the like button if you got something out of this. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not. And if you want to join us in Discord, links are below in the description. Go ahead and use the promo code KING. Get $50 off your subscription for the month. And see what we're all about there. A lot of great traders. Joseph Puckett, Igor, myself in there, along with Timur, Rob, Candy, Eddie, the whole gang, Stacy there, doing some great things, sharing all kinds of different strategies. Okay? Find one that works for you. You don't like 1-1-2s, you don't like ratio spreads, you don't like strangles. Great. Find something that you do like. Maybe you want naked puts, maybe you want to be scalping futures. Whatever you like, we've got some people that'll help guide you through that and teach you how to fish. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.